baby! Tesla has been lying to us. The title of this video is that the stock is incredibly overvalued unless they do a few precise things in the next 2 to 3 years, I'm going to say, that can actually start really justifying what we're paying for this stock. I know a lot of you think I'm just this hardcore Tesla bull and I never look at the bad, but I do this fairly pragmatically, as we're going to be comparing this to the Silverado truck that just dropped from GM that in 12 minutes sold out. We're going to be breaking down the good things, the bad things GM are doing. We're going to take a look at the good things and the bad things Tesla are doing, and just kind of see where we sit in this electric vehicle revolution. And if that is something that interests you, of course, consider hitting that like button, folks, because many of you know Tesla is the second largest stock in my portfolio right now. And no, I don't have millions of dollars like many of those YouTubers out there, but for my risk tolerance and using common sense, understanding how to properly diversify that portfolio, it is the second largest holding at 21 shares, next to Facebook on a value basis. Because I mean, I got what, 21,000 at the current price point in this Tesla stock. But let's get into the news here, guys. And my first biggest heartbreak that we were lied to about Tesla, something that I think everyone talked about initially like 2 years ago, but now it's kind of falling out a little bit because engineers find Tesla Model 3 is secretly equipped with hardware for powering homes. I mean, this was a huge concept, right, that Elon talked about actually using your car as this kind of multi-use asset, whether it's self-driving or whether it's plugging it into the grid and using it as like a battery backup. And I thought this was a brilliant idea, right? But recently we're seeing Tesla move more toward the Powerwall side of this business, considering they just dropped this coming off the Tesla YouTube channel, where they're installing this massive battery pack, 81 Tesla mega packs that have the equivalency of powering over 150,000 homes ever since Texas went through that problem with the hydro issues in that big snowstorm last year. So it's going to be neat to see as they further expand the utility side of their business. But it just kind of blows my mind because, like, why are they doing this when they're selling hundreds of thousands of these vehicles that are basically electric battery packs? And coming into that the battery event last year, Elon Musk was quoted saying that the vehicle to grid sounds good, but I think actually has a much lower utility than people think. Musk said he ostensibly wants consumers to continue buying Tesla's Powerwall batteries for their homes rather than using its EVs as batteries on wheels. I think it's actually going to be better for people's freedom of action to power a Powerwall and a car, Elon Musk said. And the reason I think he's saying this is because you're highly degrading that battery. I think in the car, when you're constantly driving it and draining it as it kind of sits at your home powering on and off all the time, and obviously you randomly get in your car and leave. So I think it makes it harder for the AI to kind of consume power, store it up on those off-peak hours, and then have the equivalency of using it on those on-peak. But honestly, I've been sitting at home for a week. I haven't used my car at all. It should be able to be out there self-driving, or at least powering my house and saving me a little bit of money. But I don't think that future is coming just yet. But on the self-driving side of it, let's talk about that, because that could be coming very soon. Elon Musk makes another impossible Tesla promise for 2022, and that is that basically full self-driving is going to drop apparently this year, or an extensive version of it, because what we have right now is already incredible, let's be real. But we need to get to the point where regulators can look at it and say, hey, this is going to be safer than humans driving. We can start regulating this and implementing it in certain areas. Heck, even GM said with their Waymo project, they're just waiting on regulation at this point. But to what extent, who knows? So basically, Elon Musk says Tesla will raise the price of full self-driving and the driver assistance to $12,000, coming off one of his Twitter posts, where basically this price increase is going to come on the next upgrade, the next Tesla code release. And how good that code release is going to be, it's going to be fun to watch, your hyper changes and all your Tesla YouTubers as they take those cars out and fully test that technology, which again, I think is super advanced. It's on the cusp. It's just a matter of, how much on the cusp. Are we getting there to that self-driving taxi network, or are we still massively overpaying for Tesla stock? Because those are two major things that have to happen to these vehicles to make them worth anything, right? I mean, if we can't plug it into our home and use the batteries that way, we damn well better be able to have self-driving technology. So my last little coil with Tesla that kind of drives me a little bit bonkers is what is with this self-driving network, or the charging network that they have, this supercharging across the US, Canada. You can pretty much go anywhere. It doesn't make sense to me. And the reason it doesn't make sense is because, hey, if I own a Tesla, there's a 99% chance that I'm charging it at home more than half the time. If I'm doing a long traveled trip, why can't I open up my app and instead of trying to find the non-populated charging stations, just go to someone's house that's near a mall or a park and just plug it in at their house and pay them a small percentage to do so off the app? And it could all be monitored through an app. I don't know why they haven't implemented some version of that at home charging, yet we're all competing for these weird charging network thingies. I don't know what I'm missing on that one. You guys can let me know what you think in the comment section below, but doesn't that just seem like a logical way to make a bit of extra money and help out the Tesla owners and add more value to them owning that vehicle, or at least putting up a charging station at their house people can publicly use? Maybe a good idea. I don't know what I'm missing there. So let's talk about deliveries real quick, because Tesla is very likely, in my opinion, this year, if not next year, going to be the #1 selling car worldwide. They're going to bust out the Toyota Corolla, which I think does over 1 million in annual sales, something like that. So Tesla's very likely going to get there with the Model 3 and Model Y. So cross your fingers for that one, because obviously many people have been talking about this and many disbelievers out there, but it looks like it's coming into fruition, right? So this is going to be highly anticipated on these earnings and the earnings call. So on January 26th, heck, maybe some of you guys can ask some questions here if you can get on that call about what I'm talking about, like what's going on. Are we going to be able to convert Tesla's batteries for more use cases than just driving? And hey, you know, are you guys going to expand on the, you know, can we actually do an in-app thing for at-home charging publicly? Who knows? But anyways, pay attention to this, guys, because the margins are what's going to matter the most. Because when we talk about GM here in a second, I'm going to show you where GM falters in margins and what makes them a less superior vehicle company from, you know, an investment standpoint, which let's keep in mind. I know Ford, I know GM stocks are starting to rally right now, and I like Ford actually a lot more than GM, but keep in mind, guys, that GM couldn't do this on their own. I mean, this whole rally would, I'm curious to if Tesla was never about, if they would have innovated to this level, actually driving the stock up for the first time in like 10 years, you know? And again, I'm hypercritical because I'm putting my money in this stuff, and I'm curious to see how it all pans out. But first and foremost, I'm going to play this quick little video here. We'll just play it in the background. So this is kind of like them promoting this evolution of how they see their vehicles evolving from today. And it all starts kind of with this ground zero battery pack and this kind of framework. But as we can see, we're going to get the Cadillac, which we're going to talk about with the pricing and when the deliveries are. I'm not sure about the delivery vans. Hummer we've talked about. I think it's the stupidest vehicle ever. No one's buying an electric Hummer. Very few people. The Silverado, that's, I think, impressive. I think this is where the goose for GM is going to be coming from, just like it has been for Ford. And then we get into this ridiculous landscape of flying cars, which comes with, I mean, let's start with self-driving. I don't know why we're already into flying cars and these weird busted future things that, you know, are fun concept ideas. Everyone loves concept cars, but if I can't buy it today and there's no physical realm to it, it's speculation, right? So anyways, that's kind of their little demo of how they see the future evolving. So let's first and foremost talk about the Silverado truck. And the thing that I think is the most hilarious about this comes back to that OEM old ass infrastructure, because when you go ahead and you kind of want to order one of these, which again, guys, sold out in 12 minutes. The problem is we don't know how much they put on reservations. Like how much was the number for the barrier to entry for them? 100,000, 200,000. There's 500,000 Silverados typically sold on an annual basis. And I feel like they're converting some of those Silverado truck fans. So that's going to be real neat. But coming back to the point here, guys, I went ahead and tried to order one of these. And there's two things that I thought were just hilarious. The first thing, that old OEM infrastructure coming back to you actually having to go to a dealership. This is where margins get thrown out the wall because they have to split part of these sales. Part of the commissions come into play with dealerships, something Tesla completely avoids altogether. I thought they would have been more inclined to implement that kind of way of dealing with things, like maybe a mobile fixing kind of station sort of a thing. Like you can just order a GM guy, comes in a truck with all the parts and tools and fixes it at your house. Forget using a dealership because it's the old way of things. But nope, we still got to order these electric vehicles through dealerships. So we're going to lose out on some margins on that bottom line balance sheet. And the other thing, I thought we could get these by 2023. That does not look like it's happening. The first one, the most expensive one, some of them are going to have limited supply availability as of fall 2023, but really we're going to be waiting till 2024, 2025. This also gives Tesla another huge leg up on that first mover's advantage. Just like we saw with the initial models of Teslas, everyone gets to play with them. It starts a lot of hype, a lot of talk, and we're going to be waiting another 3 years before we really start seeing these Silverados, where I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this year, early next year, mid next year, we start seeing the ramp up of those Cybertrucks getting released, right? And the cool thing about Cybertruck, guys, is I just go on a website, it's one click away, and I've got a reservation put in play, whereas with these Silverado trucks, we're joining a wait list. So I'm not sure if a wait list is similar to a pre-order, but you know, I find it kind of interesting, the wordplay that is used on these different websites. So I've been kind of configuring a Cadillac, and I've noticed that this is probably going to be the more comparable vehicle to the Model Y in competition, right? Whereas the Model Y is already ramping up production. This thing isn't coming into production again for I think a little while here still, guys. I have to double check on the yearly release of these, but they're another 2023 kind of example. But it's $70,000, guys. It's really similar to the Model Y in price comparison, and these are in Canadian dollars, by the way, because I'm always trying to order these in Canada to see the real price points for us. And the Model Y starts at $76,000. Keep in mind that is before the self-driving technology and everything else. Just like this Cadillac is the base model, we're not talking about expanding on much. Now, the other thing that I'm really concerned about with the competition and why I think Tesla still has this massive leg up is the software side of the business. When we look at the future of GM, they promised this kind of Waze thing or whatever, where you're in your car and you can really only utilize semi-self-driving in very limited areas. And I don't think that they're going to be upgrading that, because it looks like they're trying to do the same thing Google's doing, which is let's just make the software and then we can develop our own taxi network outside of the public market. Tesla is the only company right now actually trying to make production vehicles with full self-driving. I know that that's such a bold and profound statement when we're talking about the competitive edge, because again, you can look at Ford self-driving. You're not getting a full advantage. It's only for highways, just like GM is. Yet GM is promising this Chevy Cruze, where it's basically this full self-driving technology that already exists apparently, but you're never going to have access to it. Never, for as far as I can tell, they have no plans to let the public fully have access to that and own it. Whereas I think Tesla's giving you the advantage to buy these vehicles and actually have your own taxi network. I mean, an individual could buy 3 or 4 taxis. If this comes into fruition in the next 2 or 3 years, you'll already have a self-driving, fully loaded Tesla, whereas GM will just be rolling out these Silverados, right? So I think these are important distinctions and why I'm still relatively bullish on Tesla. But like I said, guys, if you're holding these companies, if you believe in them, I would be trying to pick them up on the dips and give it 5-10 years. Do not buy any of these stocks, any of these top weightings. I'm talking Nvidia, I'm talking Microsoft, I'm talking Apple at these valuations today, unless you're planning on holding them for 10, 15, or 20 years. I got in at much better prices than you did because you waited out. I was buying Tesla in 2019, made a fortune. These shares are basically free to me. Apple, my average buy price $17. Microsoft, my average buy price $100, guys. I can take on the impact of these companies dropping in half. You might not be able to if you're buying them today. So just be patient and understand that the only way you can kind of cushion yourself against that volatility is having that long-term perspective and capturing that future value when it comes into fruition, which comes on with more risk, but that's the problem with investing later rather than earlier. I've kind of cushioned it. So it's kind of interesting that way, guys, not as a brag, obviously, but just as a note. But let me know what you think in that comment section below. How do you see the competition coming out? Are you a fan of GM, Ford? Kind of, we're going to see BMW, a lot of new lineup electric vehicles begin production this year, so it should be entertaining. But stay cool, stay awesome, and I look forward to catching you in the next one.